So the so yeah, just my encouragement to you and to him is to use that book. Just to, and have him just read it. Just say, Chase, sit down for 20 minutes and read that. Just read it, and you're amazed what he'll do. It sinks in, and then eventually he'll understand what horizons are and horizon line and what perspective is and shapes and what the four was it shapes, or I'm saying the wrong word, but is the one of the like everything's made up of spheres and squares and cylinders and cones, right? The whole body's made of that, and the proportion of the body, how many, and yeah, he'll get a lot out of it, so.
I have at work. I gotta get going here, but I just wanted to let you know while I was thinking about the book that he's at Spencer. So, okay, we'll keep it. I have this weekend. You guys are quite living.
I just wanted to bring it back when he's with me, so I know if he's at least if he's with me, we're gonna do it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So,
Yep. Thank you.
all right,
I do.
okay,
Okay.
okay, Michelle,
Take care.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, had a halfway decent conversation with a woman that hates my guts. Anyways, wow, things do change when you get honest about things. So, anyways, I have my son. He's getting into art himself. I was an artist. Not a great one, but I was just didn't really matter. I was just going to do my art, my thing, and it was a very useful in my life at the time when I could do it and I could afford it. So it doesn't mean any much. That I'm more interested in the art of God now, and God's creation, all that, and these things. If you look real carefully, look at that, the twisting of the leaves and all that, and making this, and there's another one of these things, right? If you start using your eyes instead of just listening to everybody, it's all paranoid, you'll see things and you go, maybe this is all part of the creation. Something that we don't naturally see with our eyes because of there's a lot of confusion here for our eyes to see with the leaves and everything. But, if you pay attention in this tree, you'll actually spirits starting to manifest out of the trees. It's not pareidolia. These spirits live in the trees. People have known this for millennia. It's always been part of all cultures. But we have not been allowed to talk about it for the past two generations because of the systematic dumbing down of us. Now, we don't want to say that's real. We don't want to believe it's real. We want to think otherwise, that we're more intelligent than our ancestors. But let's be honest. We are not. The average person does not have the wisdom today that's necessary for them to survive in God's creation that He gave us. It's not any criticism on you. It's a criticism on the people that were supposed to be our faithful leaders and our elders. And what they decide to do, as they've always done for those of us who've been cursed in modern Mystery Babylon, is to keep us enslaved. Our minds, our souls, our spirits, and our bodies. And to keep us in check and not doing anything outside of what they want us to do. Now, there's what God wants us to do. And God has given us an immense place to grow, to make decisions. Not just, how we interact with each other and learning to love each other. But also learn how to love God. To appreciate God and His creation. All that is His creation. And His creation, a huge part of it, a big part of it, half of it, is the spirit realm. And the half, I mean, I'm being very generous, because in reality, it is more than half. So I want to go over this picture again, because I just find it a real blessing to me, and I hope to you, of how the spirit realm works. Now we notice this thing that the light and the angle of the light, we notice that actually the sun is actually higher, but it's refracting and bouncing back and forwards. That's somehow allowing the faces to be seen via a camera. And I believe the camera was designed first and foremost not to take family portraits of human beings, but of these things. They were trying to figure out a way a long time ago, 150 years ago plus, how to film these things. They figured out how to do that. Now, as is always with these new technologies, they're first and primary for the oligarchs, the priestcraft of that day. It's transposed or transformed into things and gadgets for the public. And one of the things was to end up taking family portraits or landscapes or that kind of thing, right? So there's multiple things now that we can take images of the world. Now, another thing too about this is it's fascinating that we can able to take these pictures. We are able to film these entities, and they went way out of their way to tell us that it was pareidolia, artifacts of filming. So that when people see it, when they see it with their own eyes, what they're looking at, they're convinced that it's just that. There's a million things that they've done to us. Going back to ayahuasca and be able to see the spirits. And they said, well, you have to have these trips and all that. There was anything for you to have your own real power and your own real personal experience with the spirit realm. With most importantly, and the only one that really matters in the day is the Lord of all spirits, the King of Kings, and his realm and his obedient servants, we might call saints, that are over there, and also his angels. And remember that his angels don't look like us. And we have to come to terms with this, because a lot of them are, because of our being sheltered like rats in a cage, we have a hard time looking at them because they're hard looking at. They're scary. We've been convinced that they're all just monsters and demons. I'm not saying that they're not a bunch of monsters and demons in the spirit realm, and if you allow them to infest you, you could be demon possessed. In fact, I believe most people actually are at this point, and that's the reason why, and they go out of the way to make sure that you never really see the light. But these things are everywhere. They've always been everywhere. Whenever there's life, these attach themselves to it. They draw energy from it, and at times manipulate it and initially destroy it. It sounds awfully familiar, like human beings, isn't it? I'm not saying they're humans. I'm not saying they're peoples. A lot of people want to say that because I think that we just don't have a better word for it, or our understanding. Now, if we're talking about species, a type of species, a type of entity, yeah, and at the end of the day, if we're talking, how do we define peoples when we're talking about the spiritual realm? And, I remember in our inquiry and investigation, we don't want to stay stuck in what other people say it is. We want to find out what it is for real. There'll be a lot of wrong answers, but there is a right answer. What are these things actually? Obviously, they're spirits. They're in the spirit realm. There are times when the elements and everything's right, and if people do certain things and cross the line, they will manifest. Many times people see these things and, they're perfectly innocent when they see these things. But they see these things and they are put in the right place and the right time to see these things. Most of us are guided by these things and we don't even realize it. And therefore, when we live our lives and our mindless jobs and our mindless existence, pursuing mindless adventures, and most of us know this, and as older we get, that we get stuck in these dead-end jobs, as we like to call them. 9-to-5 jobs, running around like rats in a cage. And we now know this is true. Yet we have no idea how to break away from it. If we did, we would. The vast majority of people, given an opportunity, granted enough courage and wisdom, would break away from what's going on. Most people do not live satisfactory lives. You can say, well, you speak for yourself. The moment will come. It comes to every one of us. Today you might think, oh man, it's the best thing that ever was. My life couldn't be any better. But the moment will come. It comes to each and every one of us. We call it a midlife crisis. Is it really a midlife crisis? No, it's a rude awakening that we've wasted our precious time in life in shallow endeavors. And then we go chase religion and other things, other man-made constructs. Literally. Instead of pursuing what the Creator that created you wants you to do. And that's going to take a lot of energy and time for you to realign yourself and correct yourself. And then you got to remember, we're stuck in this giant imperialistic system, our day's mystery Babylon. And the only way we're going to escape this, in each and every one of us, is God. It's not religion. Abraham didn't have a religion. He listened to God, and he had the desire to leave Mystery Babylon, and he did so. And he put his trust in who? In himself? How about his hot wife? Nah. And the Lord of all spirits. And things happen in time, and when he was ready and prepared for amazing things to happen and amazing promises. Not about religion. Everything that you see today in the Middle East and all those claims and what everyone's claiming are all abuse of what the words in the Bible actually say, and are intentional, especially by those who know and have read the books, the scriptures. They know that they're abusing it, and they don't know what to do. So they keep on pursuing the abuse, the neglect of the scriptures and what they actually say. And it's sad, but it's true. I'm not condemning them. They're condemning themselves. And I'm just stating the truth. It's tragic. Tragic beyond belief. Because this world, it could be, as we all know, a million times more better. That we have sanitized asphalt and concrete and boxed ourselves in little smart cities in which we are allowed our own divine creation to be in the control of other human beings. And this is that part of that huge part of that story what the Bible's about how man has abandoned God and put other men in charge of them. And then what happens? Because we're avatars, open meat suits, waiting to have one thing or the other fill us up. And when I'm not talking to our bellies, these things become, well, we become their prey, spiritually. Are all of them doing it? I don't believe that. I believe many of them are God's angels that I pray every day to protect me and my neighborhood. They're manifesting there. And I think, I ask God to show me what these things look like. And a lot of these are his angels. This is a hard thing to swallow. It's a hard thing for me to swallow. I'm not telling you to worship them. And if they're good angels, they're going to tell you the same thing. If they're the bad guys, they're going to want you to have them, give them, build an altar for them and give them this, that, and the other. And they'll jerk your chain and everything else and lead you to insanity, in which we see worldwide genocide and war and exploitation and murder. And it doesn't have to be that way. But we have to, each and every one of us has to correct ourselves and put us in line with the creation. Now, what's lovely about this picture is a lot of these spirits are manifesting, and no matter how hard you try to say that they're pareidolia, they're not. They're actually spirits between the camera and the leaves. Some of them look like the old man of the forest. This guy right here looks fascinating to me. If you see my arrow there, and there's this line, the trunk of this tree, and there's a dude right there. He's not gonna do. There's a dude right there. That one's, anyways, and it's just, there's that one dude right there. I love this guy right here. They got that. This is the ones that got the apish, we would say the Bigfoot, the booger guys, right? Yeah, the dark reset eyes, the Cheshire cat smile, the big mouth, the chin, the leading cone shape, and then he's got a buddy up here, and then we got this dude right here, and this guy's fascinating. I think this section right here just is a thing of beauty, I think, as far as a revelation. And that is, when you look at, there's the dude, it looks like Gene Simmons. Once again, these are those buggers that people talk of Bigfoot with the big mouths and the dark reset eyes. You know, right now it's manifesting looking white, but at times it looks very leathery, and at other times, right? It depends on how much God reveals to you and how much you can stomach. Most of us can't stomach it. I don't think I can yet. I'm going to have a lot of God's Spirit within me in order to have witnessed these things firsthand, because I am terribly weak. And but you know, here's another one. This thing right here, this guy right here. This guy. You see it right, his rounded head. Now we've seen this in the last video, and the two eyes pointing out, and then there's this kind of grayish, you know, an opening, right? Just a wonderful thing. And if you were to you know, adjust the coloration and all that, and a little contrast and lighting and some hue, and you could really bring this thing out a little more. But you can't bring it out perfectly because of the quality of the photo itself. And when I say that, it's not. It means it's not the perfect condition to film these things in order for them to manifest. This bottom section is fascinating to me. The number of actual entities popping out, coming through the rays of the sun. Now you see this the same thing going on up in the sky with these chemtrails. Remember, there's the sun and the chemtrails between us. And it's almost like these chemtrails, they're using it as a way of like a scrying mirror, or just a mirror in which these things, because of, well, you know, the humidity, the water within the chemtrails, they manipulate these things and create these huge, frightening and scary faces. And, you know, which everyone, and including myself, I've convinced is the end of the world. Look at this stuff. Then I discovered that God said the world's not going to end. Are these manifesting because of all the crimes of humanity? Maybe a lot of them are. But I think a lot of them are just there, and we're seeing them because we have the technology to start seeing them. Maybe is it part of the externalization of the hierarchy? Well, probably. I mean, let's face it, the people, the rulers of this evil place, they worship fallen entities, corrupt entities, unclean spirits. But I after all the prayers and asking God to reveal things, I can't believe that each and every one of these things is that. Man, they look like that, and they're scary. Remember, these are like the things that look like shadows too, but if you look real closely to this image, there is a thing right here popping out, there's a thing right here popping out, there's things behind it, there's a dude right here popping out. It's not the greatest quality. Yeah, we would want something that's perfect, right? Maybe someday we'll be able to handle the perfect. Now, I'm sharing this not for, and I expect that 90% of you to laugh at me. That's your problem, not mine. But that one person who has to prepare, who's prepared, that God is prepared to now go to the next level of understanding and reality. It's for us. It's not for the rest. The rest of the people are stuck in their paradigm. If you want to keep chasing a monkey man and all that kind of stuff, you know what? They'll give it to you. Don't waste your time. As long as you're not in any way, shape, or form growing and having that personal relationship with God, they'll give it to you. There's always one that's going to give it to you. There's a bunch of them that give it to you. Many people think that these things, or a lot of them are the byproduct of the Nephilim, of the creation before the deluge, the flood. And these are the spirits that are stuck here that Enoch, the book of Enoch talks about. They're stuck here. They're not allowed to go past this physical realm. And there's like this. They're stuck as spirits here, in the ether, in the elements, or maybe there's a combination of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? In other words, as we learn about these things, we start to realize that, Bigfoot and dogmen are not just some flesh and blood creature running around. These things are intricately tied with the forest and the trees. It's interesting as human beings, we clear the forest. We get rid of the forest so that we can farm and husbandry, have our animals and all that. Isn't that interesting? We don't, for the most part, the vast majority of us don't live under the canopy of the forest. We're not part of the forest anymore. We're not even we're totally disconnected from all that it is. Most of us have never even spent 5 minutes straight staring into the edge of the trees, the forest, a woods, a grove, or even a tree itself, a mature oak or maple, whatever it may be, an ash tree, or just stare. Stare. Condition your eyes to be able to see between the confusion of the leaves and the branches. This is a truism. It's just like the sky. We've been conditioned and told that these things, this alligators and little lambs and this kind of, and there's a whole ecosystem of spirits that live in the second heaven and in the air, and have some kind of connection between the stars, which I hate to tell you, NASA has been lying to you all along. They're a lot closer to us. But you can find that out for yourself. P900s, a tripod, a simple software package like maybe Filmora. Something that allows you to magnify the images, change and alter some of the contrast and the lighting and the brightness. And you'll see, and you'll start seeing, you'll start witnessing that these stars and these planets, as they call them, are nothing that they say they are. They're not balls of gas, and they're not light years away. And then you'll start realizing, well, maybe there is no such thing as light years. Maybe it's another man-made construct to confuse us. You'll start to realize that there's no one's ever even proven the existence of light years. It's still a theory that people swear as absolute gospel in the religion of scientism. You don't want to hear that. No one wants to hear it. You know what? I didn't want to hear it. Who wants to hear it? But it's true, folks. The stars are not that far. They're all part of the firmament of this creation. It seems to me that we live in a bubble. And that might be, but I'm not saying it, but it might be that this creation, this plane of existence, has many bubbles. the many different, unique creations. Well, now we're talking about the physical realm. But there also, let's don't forget that there's the spiritual realm. And whatever I'm saying about the actual creation of this place, it's wrong. You can say it's conjecture, just your opinion, and I'm going to tell you that it's just flat wrong. As far as what is beyond what is in my present existence. God has not revealed to me what other creations may look like. What God has revealed to me so far is that the stars are extremely close. Stars are inhabited by a lot of these things and different looking entities, and they're always just heads. He doesn't give you the whole body, just heads. Some people say they're the disembodied spirits, but when we talk about in the Bible disembodied spirits, we're talking about people who have died and have lost their bodies. But ironically, many of these spirits are actually, all we ever see is their heads. So are they disembodied spirits? Or the God just allow us just glimpses of their eyes and their face? Once in a while we get a chance to see their whole body. Sometimes we get the chance to really see the whole detail of their body, if we're prepared for it. The thing is, at maturation, do we become wizards and shamans and medicine men and women and then end up in the same old frickin' screwed up thing, in which we're using our wisdom that God has given us to not impart it on others, but to exploit others, to gain control over others and the environment. And it's extremely easy to do. It takes an immense amount of mercy on God and the Creator of all these spirits, the Lord of all spirits, to fill His Spirit in you in order to look at the things, not worship them, but see them as just as the trees and the birds in the trees, the bees, and the bugs, the butterflies, the squirrels, and all part of creation. That they are part of creation. And it's not something to worship. And there's no problem in spending a season obsessing over them, like when you first learn about nature, and you have the opportunity to really learn about, say, a herd of deer, and their behavior and all that kind of stuff. Maybe even write a book about it. But you know what? It's not things to worship. It's things to go, wow, this is all part of the creation. What part and what role is it that they play? They seem to have a huge connection with trees and the elements. Of course, we learn about, and there's places throughout this world where there's tree structures, where they build these things when no one's around, in the dark at night. They are the children, it's probably not even the right term, children, because that's really a reference to human beings, but they are the creation, the entities of the realm of darkness that we have been told over and over again to be afraid of. For a lot of people, a lot of things benefits. Maybe for these entities benefits first and foremost. You know, the childhood book story where the wild things are, and when the boy runs out into the grove or the forest to play with these things, and he's all dressed up in his little monster pajamas, and they play around, and there's really something to that story that's more than just a silly, absurd story. And they're trying to tell you something, but it goes right over our heads. We're not interested. We're only interested in ourselves and our own twisted perspective of reality that somebody else has imparted on us. In other words, we've been so misled, poorly guided, that we're not able to see the forest through the trees, or the tree through the forest, or whatever that phrase is. In other words, we're not able to see all that's in around us. We start to understand why trees are more amazing, and forests and groves are more amazing then we understand. No, it what always happens, a group of people get together, some men and women, and say, well, we'll start worshiping in the seas, and we'll gain some power, and we'll try to develop our sorcery, and we'll try and use it against other people to gain power, right? And they become corrupt. We call it unclean spirits, demon. Not all spirits are unclean. There's God's angels that are righteous and mighty, that are messengers and do his service. And I'm sure it's the vast majority of them. Because when you live in the presence of the Lord of all spirits, then you see what happens when you rebel against it. And what is rebellion really? Rebellion in the spiritual realm is not the same thing as what we think is rebellion here. You're doing stupid things and getting psychotically crazy and end up in prison. You know what I mean? The way men are. But in this case, this is what has happened to many of these. They have rejected, I guess, even in the spiritual realm, there's a certain bit of freedom, free will for at least the spirits. I guess God, with God's creation, he's merciful to us, but he doesn't want you and I to be trapped in some parallel universe, some prison of their own Sheol, their own Hades. So he's at the lake of fire. He said, well, in order for you not to be tormented all day, we'll be no more. He said, why is that? Well, this is God's wisdom. He's made sure that you and I are not going to be tortured and tormented forever, because he loves us, because we are one of his favorite creations. But remember, he's made a whole bunch of creations. And you ask yourself, why is that? That's a damn good question. And you say, well, why would God do anything like that? Look how shitty we are. And I would agree with you. Look at that one, that's translucent one with the two eyes and all that. That's that. Well, that's all pareidolia. And then that's one of the monkey people with his dark recessed eyes and his Chester cat smile. And then we got this one, and people say, oh, got that kind of human look. Almost with those leaves or whatever, makes it look like he got a mustache. I want to look at this down here, though, because this is just fascinating. And I'm loving this picture. There is an entity right here. There's full of them right here. And this is not out of the ground. This is just... And they were imposing for me. They were just all... these things that they observed the whole neighborhood. Not just my house, but the neighbors and the houses and everything. They're not obsessed with just Michael Adams. They're not even really all that interested in Michael Adams, to be honest with you. Fact is, I'm more interested in them than they are interested in me. This is where the danger lies. When we turn our interest into them into such an obsession that it turned into worshiping these things, creating altars in order to manifest themselves to us, thinking that they're going to be able to give us anything more than what they're able to be. It's the same thing in life. We do this to each other, man and a woman. The women I've been with in my life, I've worshipped them in their vaginas and their bodies. Sometimes even what they had to say. Twisted. Taking all of what really the intent was for a man and woman to get together in order to create more of God's children. Nope. It's all about... this is all part of this modernity, where it's all about having sex with each other. That's all part of life. I think that's something that's normal. When reality, and for millennia, a man and a woman got together, and a sacred, very sacred moment. They took a lot of time and discipline and sincerity and honesty, and making a commitment between them and the Creator himself. We don't do that anymore. Hey, you're hot. I like you. Let's get together. Let's talk and learn about each other so we can end up shagging each other. Because we live in a slave twisted, shallow existence, and we think that that's the ultimate, the only thing that matters. And for many of us, that's all that does matter. It is what it is, right? It's not about judging each other. It's about the fact that we need to try to break away from this twisted, shallow, empty prison that we've created for ourselves. One of the things I want to talk about this image too. There's a couple of things. This is part of this picture that I've shared with you, and this goes back to those two entities, the spirits that are manifesting between the trees and the camera and the air. And I noticed that there's something right here, and there's a face right here. The gray, these gray large faces that reminded me a lot. And very close to size, but it seems like a little smaller. Which, by the way, it's actually the entity that's gray here is a lot closer than the entity that I showed you earlier, which was this one. This one is much further away and almost seems larger, which is a contradiction to what one would expect. Now, either this is a separately different entity, once again boiling with other entities. There's never one. In fact, the ether, I'm totally, I mean, the Bible talks about the angels, the four winds. I don't think he's kidding. I mean, it's a figurative, but I think it's also a very strong suggestion that these spirits are involved with the wind itself. And I would not be surprised if they're involved with the sun rays itself. And you say, oh, you know, this is not, you're crazy. There's no proof in that. No, but it's through my observation. I'm seeing things, witnessing things, and it's telling me that this whole creation, from the spirit realm to the earth, the way we are stuck here, we call it gravity, to the wind itself, the movement of the clouds, to the air, what do I want to say, the trade winds, the flow of water, how everything is interconnected, even with the spiritual realm. They all have a place and a role in it. I think everybody knew that at one time. But we in the Western civilization and the New World Order are so disconnected from the totality of the creation, this amazing creation that God gave us to be a part of, to be a steward of. But this system is taking it all away from us. And coming back to reality is a multifaceted thing. I understand if you're not interested and ready for this. I don't blame you. If you think I'm a jackass, I don't blame you. 5 years ago, I would be that guy. Maybe 3 years ago, I would still be struggling with it. And it wasn't. And the only reason I'm coming to terms with it today is my own life experience. If it was your experience, I couldn't do it. So I don't blame you. But when we look at this image, this one section of that tree, we can see the gray people, for better words. Not the real grays. No, I'm not talking the grays in Hollywood, the ones that everyone thinks is gray. I'm talking about the real grays. There's a little one right here. You see the eyes and the mouth and the nose. There's a bigger one right here. I'm talking about, I'm not saying they're Bigfoot. I'm saying the Bigfoot's part of some kind of spiritual realm that comes in and out. Maybe they're a higher form of spirit. So it makes them allowed to do that, give them the permission to do that. But look at him. I didn't change. There's no alter in any of that picture. Color, contrast, or anything. And the brightness of those beautiful leaves, and behind it is that thing that's gray-ish. The real grays. Now, see, that's not an artist rendering. That's not a drawing. That's not something that's based on Aleister Crowley's favorite little demon he conjured up, thinking that he was, by having all this abusing himself and others. I'm saying this is something that's there always. And it's got this grayish, it absorbs the green and everything else. Is it pure white? What is it? Why is it grayish? What's up with his eyes? But you go back here, then with a little bit of contrast, and coloration, lighting, you can see that there were these grays. And should we... I don't know if I can get there. So if I change it, you see there's some here. They're the ones that kind of like the tree apes. So there's tree apes, and there's these peoples, and there's these. Maybe this is where the people we come to term peoples, because they have faces like human beings. And we slowly change the contrast and everything, and the color, and revert back, we can see how easily these things blend into the environment. We see them nothing. We don't see them at all. We are not incapable of seeing them. But they're right there, and they've always been there. It's not because Michael Adams is a terrible human being. It's not because I'm filled full of terrible evil spirits. I'm just being allowed to see what is always been all around all of us. We can't handle that. We've been conditioned that there's something wrong with that. We could barely handle the fact that there's animals in the bottom of the sea 2 miles down that look like the freakiest of the creatures. We can barely handle the fact of bugs and how ugly they are. What has happened to us? Well, what's clearly happened to us is we've been disconnected from reality terribly. And there's not a soul in Western civilization that's governed by Rome and London and other places, Moscow, Beijing, all these different monarchies that have taken absolute control of our minds and our spirits and our souls. We are so disconnected from reality. We need to figure out some way to get back. I think the only way to do this is lower spirits myself. But first we got to understand what our problem is. And most of us just don't know. I'm just coming to a realization what the real problems are. So, well, it's different picture. So you know, this is the original image. This, you can see the gray person here, the face right here of the child, this face, the tree monkey things, the things that people call boogers and Bigfoot. And as we brighten it up, there's a multiple facet, and we change the colorations of multiple of entities that come in different shapes and sizes and colors of face. I hope you can see the magnitude, the majestic wonder of a tree. And that's what we're really dealing with. And I wonder in the West and the Northwest, there's all the logging and all the experiences and the times when people have really bad encounters with these things. These are things trying to ward us off from what we're doing. Because these trees each tree is an ecosystem in itself. That's more than just mosses and bacteria and microorganisms, and then squirrels and owls and different types of, birds. And no, it's a whole ecosystem of the spirit realm itself. This is not wizardry. This is not witchcraft. You don't need to be involved in any of this stuff. You understand that? You can let go of all the nonsense and the group and the covens and the parishes where you will parishes and covens where you're stuck in their contracts. You can have an experience with God, between God and God's creation, if you just let it be. Let him be it. Have the real contract. And I'm telling you, you take a damn good look at this image. And this is just a section of the trees, behind that tree, by the way, of the spirits that are actually there. Oh, it's all pareidolia. Maybe you need to develop an eye. The eye of an artist. Who's the artist? God himself. This is an interesting entity. If you look at this real close, this is his neck, his head sticking out. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a face right here. Many of these faces you can draw out, and they've got pinkish faces like human beings. Other ones, they got the more grayish looking face. Some look like monkeys. Other ones, these scarier ones, there's one that lives in my neighborhood in this town. He's got like this, it's like this pushed in nose. There's like no nose at all. It almost looks like his face is like half a skull, and these crazy eyes and this crazy teeth. It's scarier than hell looking. But he seems like he's pretty happy about his existence. I don't know what it is. It's not a Bigfoot. But it's a company of a Bigfoot. It's part of an ecosystem. I'm not being, woo here, okay? This is not this, he's just making up stuff. And he's no, it's as real as everything else. Why we can't handle it is because we've been brainwashed to say, convinced that we can't handle it, and it's BS. But as you see, and you just look into this image, there's an entity right there, and he's got a bit of a smile. There's the little guy right here. I don't know what the hell he is. There's one with the peaking face. And then there's the apish ones that, people, he's a Bigfoot. And I'm running out of time, so I needed to cut to the chase about a few things. After the rant about the fact that spiritual realm is real, I want to show you what's fascinating more about this. Just one image. One image is part of this whole grouping of trees, which, by the way, are hovering above people's houses or in front of their houses. And what is things is, notice here, there's hands. There are hands right here. And there's hands right here, and there's hands right here. Once again, this would be your Bigfoot booger guys. And in this ecosystem, there's different types of these spirits. If you're willing to look. Stop looking for people are obsessed about looking for the quote-unquote traditional Bigfoot. The Harry and the Henderson thing. The Bigfoot of $6 Million Man. Which, by the way, if Eric Lemming, if you hear this, thank you for bringing it up. A lot of times people think it's a joke. And rightfully so, because they haven't spent any time in it. And they're stuck. Maybe he's not stuck. Maybe he understands completely. If you're joking about it, fair enough. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? You can't make someone see something. They're going to have to go out and find out for themselves. But anyways, we go back here, and I want to show you. So that's that one. But I want to take... So we can make a comparison. My computer's lagging. I think I had to do some cleaning up. Yes, indeed. Okay. Where are you? And now I cut that whole rant of, come on, man. Oh, man. Come on, man. This is the Joe, the slave to Rome. Biden. No biting on earth here from heaven, that's for sure. So anyways, if you look at this really close, this image, let's see, is there a better one? Yeah, this is a little darker. Is there even a darker one? We'll bounce back from that one. So this one, if you look right here, you can see the fingernails. 1 fingernail, 2 fingernail, 3 fingernail. Not so dark. These two have dark. And then so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers, at least. Maybe even 5, depending how you look at it. Is it this entity back here that's doing it? Or is it something else that's doing it? Is it... I don't know, but there's a hand, like, and it's... Remember, they're spirits. So this hand is grabbing onto the leaf. Isn't that interesting? And where's the other one? There's another one. Actually, there's another one over here, right? This here, there's a hand right here with some nails. Where did I? I'll have to go back to. And it did pop out twice. So there we can see what. Okay, there it is. So there's actually some there's. You can see that there's actually a hand right here. So and the hand's holding on, or putting, it's like resting onto the leaves, like it's like you resting your hands onto a fence post. You see how I'm saying? So it's a spirit. You know, if you and I were to put our hands on this, that wouldn't work that way now, would it? Which, you know, I was thinking, and I wonder if it's inspired from God, or that, you know, you see these trees, and you ever notice that there's just like one branch moving back and forth, and you don't think twice of it, you just move on. Did you ever wonder why that one branch was moving, and why the other ones are moving more rapidly than the other? It's the same wind, it's the same. Did you ever notice about wind? Everybody's like, think, okay, everyone knows about wind. Everybody knows about electricity until you really break it down and ask people, what is electricity? What is wind? They can't tell you. They can't. They can come to a certain point and say, well, the wind comes from this. They have to make up all this stuff, how fast the earth rotates and all this other stuff. And you're like, the more you really break it down, you're like, they're lying to me. They don't. They're deliberately lying to me, or they don't know what they're talking about, or they do know what they're talking about, and still the same thing. They're lying to me. Wind is the spirits. The sunlight. There's an interaction between the sunlight. So it has something to do with the sunlight and how much sun and the night and. Anything but the spirits. You ever notice that? Anything but the spiritual realm. You got to crush that. Only spirits are the ones that the Vatican say, that the Mormons say, that your Protestant pastor says, that the officials, propagandists, and your MSM say. But here's the thing. There's we have to do something. We have before it's too late. There's actually, oh yeah, that's right. For ourselves, for our children, we got to stop playing games with each other, acting like we know the hell we're talking about, when the truth is we don't know what we're talking about. So we know. I know there's a hand right here, and there's a couple fingers right here. I don't know if it belongs to the same entity. Is it this entity in its hands? Is it this black dude, this thing that's kind of covered by another entity in his hands? What's the importance in all this? Spiritual realm's real. There's Lord of all spirits. These people that are on top, that are manipulating us today in 2022, are the same wizards and the same shamans and the same warlocks and witches from Eurasia, from the same people, monarchies, which Vatican is the largest monarchy in the world. But there's other ones, of course, we all know about them, or know some of them actually. Well, they've been very clever about erasing that from our memories. More things been hidden in plain sight that conjure up these things and use them for their power. Not all of them, but an awful lot of them. I don't conjure these things up. I honestly, I want to understand my Lord's of all spirits creations. That's what I want. I don't want to. Oh man, this hand is big. You can see there's a fingertip here. There's a fingertip here, maybe here. It might be all five. This might even have more than one hand. It looks like almost it has like a group or two hands or more than one hands. But you can see the fingertips. It's a little giveaway. Fingertips. Fingertips. These things even have fingernails. Why would a spirit need fingernails? Why the hell would a spirit need fingernails? Oh, but we can't be honest about anything. And when you are honest about stuff, then you're mocked and ridiculed, and you're told that you're immature, you're stupid, you need to go back to school. And actually, I don't need to go back to school. I never want to go back to school. Not the man-made school. I don't ever want to be in any kind of this grouping or this. We're going to have a conference, and only for $100 or $50 or $25 you can join us, and we'll give you these endless lectures. I don't want any of that anymore. The only lectures that I want at this point is from God. Now here's another one. It's fascinating. From the same photograph, it's the same images that we've been looking at. The guy with the white face, it looks like Gene Simmons, and the other guy with the black and the two eyes, and then the gray face, and the black hairish looking thing. Hoodie. But on top of this, you can see, and we'll get back to that picture again, that here's the leaves, and it's like somebody has taken, if it's the guy with the white hat face or what, a hand to cover the top of his head with leaves. And you'll see that there's 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger, 4 finger. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I don't know if the white is just reflection on the fingernail itself or what. But it's part of the fingernail. I don't know. But then there's this dude right here. You're like, oh, Mike, you're you're a simpleton. How could you be so stupid? Oh, pareidolia. You study pareidolia, and you're to come to terms with things, or you're going to stay stupid. All pareidolia that they provide to you in the mainstream are artist renderings or notches and nodes. Notches, notches and nodes, and little, creases in the bark and all that. In other words, they'll say, that's pareidolia, right? See, that's in fact, that's what they're going to tell you. That's pareidolia. There's an eye here and there's an eye here, and that's pareidolia. But once you start understanding that there's a bunch of spirits all around and they're manifesting out of the trees, you'll learn. You'll learn the difference between something that's simply coincidental. Look at that. Now, it's simply nodes. It's simply the bark, but it's almost like there's another one right there. You'll see that these faces dominate, manifest out of the bark. And it's not somebody that did this, because this is really high up, and you would have to use a ladder to get up there to do that, and a big ladder to get there, and you have to waste your time to do that. And somebody would have noticed, like me, since it was just 30 feet from. Oh, it's probably this tree is 60 feet, 30 foot, 60 feet, so 20 yards, 60 feet from my kitchen window. I know. Here's the thing now. Now that we know that hands are on the leaves, all right? Let's skip it to this part before I get onto that. And then we're going to now look back at how these entities and these spirits, and which was revealed to me in 2017, that freaked the living hell out of me. And I'm like, I don't want to see this, and I don't want to know about this. Leave me alone. Why are you guys manipulating the leaves and making these faces with 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth? Why are you doing that? Are you trying to frighten me? You trying to scare me away? Are you trying to say something else? Well, I don't speak that language. And listen, you guys live your lives. I'll live my lives. Let's try. How do we live in harmony? I don't even know how we get to that point. But what's fascinating about this, so now we got the man in white, Gene Simmons, the other dude with the 2 white faces, eyes, and the gray face and the black hair. They got this dude right here that almost looks like a rat or a pig or something. But he's not alone. But you see right here, 1, 2, and 3, and I'm constantly seeing these things the more and more I look. And they have fingers. You see the fingernails? The long fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, either this is Gene Simmonson's, or maybe it's his, or some other entity. I have no idea, but they use their hands to manipulate. That's part of them manipulating the leaves. No, Mike, it's all the wind. Okay, to explain to me where the wind comes from. Well, it has something to do with the sun and the moon and the heat, and they get to this pile of bullshit in which you have just really outrageous, thick textbooks of men's conjuring up of things. I'm telling you, I was in the science field, I was in the environmental science field. I saw firsthand, right up close, real fast, guys with PhDs and masters and everything, compromising themselves on a daily basis to make sure they had a paycheck. The ethics and morality, if there ever was one in science, was left decades ago, people, and probably generations ago. But they put the kibosh on that because as time went on, and they seen and they know that as you let men be free to be who they are, all sorts of amazing, really, truly useful gadgets would be made. And you would be amazed how much of the same stuff that was created in the 19th century and the early 20th century are still used today. And we always hear the same stuff about how they used to make things to last. And that's the truth. And with the New World Order, what they want to do is they create these crap boxes they call them homes. And they start smart cities and all that. And that is to force you in there, increasingly indebt you, and eventually you be so dependent on them that you'll do everything that they want. Was what there was one in the first place. Hands, spirits, heads, and the forest, the edge of the forest. It was funny. It's kind of like because the town I live in Spain, it's called Tree City for a reason. It used to be, but they're slowly wiping it all out. But there used to be trees everywhere. It was just, I mean, look at this dude. The 2 eyes, you want to call it pareidolia or not, fine. You start looking and looking and looking, and so, this is not pareidolia. There's something going on in the trees. One of the things about these Bigfoot researchers and everybody else, they always can encourage you to look down at footprints, down at structures, never up in the trees. You ever notice that? And what are the odds? And we've seen those who paid attention of spirits jumping up the trees that look like they're Bigfoot. And when I say jumping up the trees, they just like 1, 2, 3, pew, and they're up like sing like some cartoon character, and they're in the branches, and the branches don't break. How does that work? what one of the things I've done really hard with my journey and then share it with people, that I was going to go find the truth, the actual foundational truths of our lives. It's one of the reasons why I read the Bible, and if you listen to me in my study of the Bible, you'll realize what I'm reading and what the average pope, pastor, priest, and everyone, what the Bible says, and you say, why, you tell people that, and they say, well, I already do that. No, you didn't know that. You assumed that, but you didn't know why and how they've been deceiving us. If you were to study the foundation of a quote-unquote Christian civilization, was what they claimed that we are, which is far from the facts, you'll realize, wow, the story of this Jesus, the Lord of all spirits, is amazing. The Jewish aspect of it is so minuscule. Men wants to keep putting back in, but why do they want to keep that putting back in? I wonder if I'm looking not at actually fingertips, but actually teeth now. Look at the eyes, and the nostril, and the teeth. I wonder if that's what that is. Anyways, if you study the Bible for what it really says, and not just there's so much bias you have to remove. Whether you already are a Christian or you aren't and you're an atheist, because, man, you've been lied to by everyone, and they've done a good job of that. Hiding the truth in plain sight, convincing people not to really read that book or the collection of books because it's stupid and it's archaic and it has nothing to do with our day. And once you connect with God, Lord of all spirits, wakens you up to the spiritual realm, along with understanding the Bible, you have an amazing advantage over not other people. It's not really that, but over the confusion, of course, that comes from these people, the propaganda, the lies, and you will not really truly know when you're being lied to, and then you're going to have to work through that ether of deception, of evil, and make a decision if you want to stay in it or work through it and go towards the light. To be the child of light you were always meant to be. Now, this could be just nothing but pareidolia. I don't know, but I know that's not pareidolia. Mr. Gene Simmons and that dude, the Black Ed, he's not pareidolia. I know for a fact that's not it. I know Mr. Head, it looks like Mr. I don't know, it just reminds me, Mr. German Aristocrat is not a pareidolia. I know this Mr. Blurry popping his head out is not pareidolia. Yeah. I know that Mr. Black dude, some people call Bigfoot, Grassman, Booger, whatever, is not pareidolia. I've seen it myself. Now, I don't know how to handle seeing it again. I don't know if I'm capable. My ticker's capable of seeing it again. But here's the other thing, too, and here's a great example of how they manipulate leaves. And they get you to look at one direction, and you'll see the monster. Oh my gosh, there's this weird face manifesting in the trees. While they're behind it all. They're not the actual spirit. And this is, when I mean that, is kind of like they're playing puppeteer with the leaves. This is a perfect example right here. You see that? You see the eyebrows and the nose and the eyes and the mouth and the head? How about this guy? Some people say, well, they remind themselves of the Mr. Prime Mantis and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, this is part spirit and part them manipulating leaves. Now, how do you? It freaks you out when you really start realizing. And by the way, this is where it comes into actually you staring at the edge of the woods. You have, if you want to wake up to a huge part of your reality, stare at the edge of woods. It's gotta be leaves. pine needles or pine trees are not the best, but you can probably see some. Definitely, you can see some activity. Definitely, you might have to look higher up. Here's the thing: they never tell you to look up. You notice that when it comes to this stuff, they're always looking down to evidence, when all and vast majority of evidence is up, and the best evidence actually is the leaves. Once you have eyes to see, the leaves are, and the chaos of the leaves is how they hide in it, and they're not flesh and blood. And so how do they manipulate the leaves? Well, how do these same spirits create the wind? We were told a little bit, just a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit, even in the scriptures, of how God has his angels in control of the four corners of the earth, which, of course, the Jews, the Israelites, the earth to them was their own realm, their own section of this realm of existence, this plane of existence. They didn't consider everyone else as part of the world. They weren't interested in the rest of the people. They were very ethnocentric, very much so. In fact, they're very bad people. It was amazing that God actually used such bad people. But God can. I think the proof is in that they could turn a whole group of bad people back then. We're talking to thousands of years ago. He could if he had to himself, like John the Baptist, or like Jesus, the Lord God Almighty, creating the situation. If he has to do it himself with his spirits, they'll do it. They'll find a good man or create a good man in a midst of vipers and serpents and wolves, as Jesus called them, and just forget about your anti-Semitic, because it has nothing to do with today. It was 2,000 years ago. A totally different group of people, by the way, than what are people today. And it's not being bigoted. It's actually just historical. Well, according to the Bible, according to Josephus and others, it's the case. So, anyways, they could be all wrong as far as the historical data, but if they're wrong, then if the historical data and what little we have of the Bible is wrong, then their own religion is wrong. So, anyways, it's catch-22 what they created, isn't it? So God takes these entities, these spirits, and allows them to manipulate the elements, and people want to call them elemental spirits and all that. But I honestly think they're greater than elemental spirits. I think even the whole idea of calling them elemental spirits is not quite the right direction. When you start seeing books being published on in Barnes and Noble and Amazon, and they keep pushing it's the same narrative, guarantee you they're leading you down the wrong path again. They have no advantage and no benefit in telling you the truth. None. Why would those, that 5% that govern and rule over the rest of us, want to tell us the truth? Why would they want to abandon their comfortable positions? And even their comfortable positions are not that comfortable. I mean, you think they want to go work as a carpenter? As a tradesman? Hell no. I know I couldn't. I'm become absolutely wussified thanks to being the poison execs in 2009. I'm a wimp. Worthless. Still have eyes to see, though, and I still have my soul, and I can still tell the truth about things. So, we'll shut this up for a little bit, but I just want to... So you got this dude... Who is that? He looks like Mr. Magoo, and then you got the, it's Where the Wild Things Are meets, the Warlock, what's his name? That's Warlock? Warlock. Oh God, what was the guy that's supposed to protect the trees in the Dr. Seuss movie? Oh, you gotta get rid of that book. So Dr. Seuss, all things, right? I want to say Slee Stack, but that's wrong. Oh God, my memory is about. One more thing I wanted to point out. So, and then there's this dude, just to remember, or I didn't really point him out, but this guy right here with the big eyes. Is this what things people call aliens, or want to try to call them aliens? Want to convince you you're aliens? Just look at his big eyes. Oh, he's an alien. Is he an alien? Or is he part of the forest creation? Are there good ones and bad ones? The bad ones who wanted to, torment you and cause fear from you or experiment on you? Are there good ones that just want to be left alone, as we would call good ones? And then we go back to like Aleister Crowley and oh God, it's going to drive me nuts about it. Of course, there's nobody to work with on this, so wherever that guy with the beard is, the mustache that's supposed to protect the trees. So, anyways, that's that. He's an alien. Well, how about if they're not aliens? They never were aliens, but they were part of the forest. And then you got this guy right here. Oh, this guy, whatever it is. What is the guy? And he looks like Mr. Magoo, and that guy is... What is that Dr. Seuss movie? Anyways, that's something for everyone to think about. Maybe you can leave it in the comments. I'm sure by the time I stop this and look it up, it will take about 5 minutes, and I'll have it. What the hell is the name of the little guy that lives in the trees in that Dr. Seuss book, and where they were going around chopping all the trees, and he was trying to save the forest? Remember, why did they develop cameras in the first place? They didn't do it for you and your family. They wanted to find out how true the spiritual realm was, and they went and they did everything they possibly could. Well, once they found out through cameras back in the 19th century that spiritual realm is real, then the cat was out of the bag, is for to sort of say, because now you have this technology, and what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? Okay, well, this is Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss. So what are you going to do about it when now you get this technology in which people can actually, if they realize that the spiritual realm was real, that everyone has access for it, there's no need for any, you don't need to go see a spiritualist or any of the other people, that you have access to them just as much as they do. And if you do it the right way, instead of praising them, instead of doing all this stupid stuff, you can have actually a healthy relationship with them, and they can have a healthy relationship with you, and you're not exploiting each other. Dr. How do you spell Dr. Seuss? Isn't it interesting Dr. Seuss has this kind of almost Jesus mixed up in it, in the letters? Did you ever notice that? S-E-U. You say, no, not really? Okay. Books. We'll start there. Where are you? Where are you? Don't take it away from me. The Lorlac. Oh, God, I'm so stupid. How could I be so stupid? So that guy looks just like the Lorlac. Does it remind you of that? Like a Lorlac. They got Mr. Magoo and the Lorlacs just sitting there going, what is this guy doing taking a picture of us? Is he going to spill the beans? The thing is, I don't I don't know how much they really care. In fact, I think if they the wiser of these things, the ones that may have a capacity to think, um, they would see the benefit of actually if they if people knew the consequences of people just blatantly cutting down a tree and his limbs and everything else in the forest. If they knew that there was a whole bunch of living things in there, and that they're not only were killing this tree, but they were killing or chopping out a tree, they're killing all sorts of things and destroying their habitat. You know, there's a couple of things I want to talk about too before I hang up. I've taken so much time. It's just like there's so much to say in this image. The different types of. So you have the monkey guys. You have the white face dudes. You have the ones that look more like that. The Mr. Black guys, the boogers, right? But there's one guy too. There's in my part of town, there's dudes that have buck teeth. I'm dead serious. They have buck teeth, and it's funny looking at them. And I have a picture of one that I took years ago. I'll have to find someday and connect them. But they literally have buck teeth. Buck teeth ones. So we had the ones that look like apes. We had the Mr. White-faced dudes. We had the black ones. I mean, and this is all living in a tree. I think what I'm trying to point out is there's a whole freaking ecosystem within the trees. In your neighborhood. And they're going out of the way to kill them. So this is... Oh, Mr. Bucky. Now the computer slowed down. I got to make this video, and then I got to clean up my computers. So can I get to this? Okay? Did it move? So this dude right here, right? And you'll see it's very hard to see because now I can all distort it and because of pixelation. But there's buck teeth, and there's a face and eyes. Anyway, so let's go out and get his shrink down. The argument, the debate is that a real photo of Bigfoot? And some of us think so. I think so too. So here's another one. So there's a bigger guy here, and there's another guy right here. So there's this face, that face, and these dudes right here. Now, it's weird about it, and maybe it's just an as far as the buck teeth go, but this guy looks like he has big teeth. He looks like he's got buck teeth. He looks like he's got buck teeth. Is this what they would call some kind of, what do they call those really retarded looking spirits? Not with Down syndrome. People talk about the Down syndrome thing. Is that what they're talking about here? These three dudes, or actually there's 1, 2, 3. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spirits, and then 7 and 8. So at least 8. As I said, they always hook up. Like if you can see the buck teeth. It's hard, now it's getting all blurry, but this is the bigger one with the eyes and his pushed in pig nose and his buck teeth. And they got these guys with their pushed in nose. And then, are they related to are they related to this guy right here? Because he's got the teeth and the nose, and it's a weird nose. It's like somebody just cut it off, and so you can see right inside the inside your inside your nose with all the, what do they call that now? Well, my brain's, it is 3-4 in the morning, so I wake up and instead of thinking about other things, the guys have given me enough time to think about these things. So this the inside of your nose, and then the two entrances, the airways, the passageways into your nose. But that's lame. But anyways, are they connected in some way? Are they all connected? I don't know. But there is something going on in it. There's something seriously going on in the trees. Where there's hands and fingers and heads and spirits that are transparent and other ones that aren't so transparent. Where they have their monkey boys and their bucktooth dudes and their, that come in all shapes. And this is all coming in one little space. So I think that we need to rethink everything about what we're doing. Honestly. And we got to take all the woo part out of it and all the superstition and all the magic and all that. We got to take it all out. We got to go back and again, applying the scientific method, and we need to figure out what's going on here. How when we cut down a big oak tree, what kind of damage is actually being done to the ecosystem and the spirit realm along with the physical realm? It makes you think about the giant trees of the past.
You're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind.